So I went to a late night showing of Shazam last night, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and my review on it right now. One of the first things I want to say is that while this movie focused a little bit more screen time on the villain himself, Dr. Savant, played by Mark Strong, I think overall it didn't focus enough time on it. I felt like I didn't really understand what his motivation was, what his goal was. I mean, I kind of understood a little bit about his motivation because they gave us a little bit at the beginning, but as the movie was progressing, my thought was, what does this guy want? What does he want overall? What is his goal? What is his end game? And that was never really made clear because I felt like there was a really complex and really interesting character in there that we were hinted at and given a little bit of, but I just wish we had gotten a little bit more.
You're like a bad guy, right?
I think another thing that I had an issue with was with Billy Batson.
Are you for real?
There were some instances in this where it was almost like he changed his character on a dime, and it was mostly not necessarily because of choice, but because the plot dictated him to do that. By the end of it, Batson actually had a really great arc, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I think what took it away from me was that when you're in a movie and when you're watching these movies, you really want to find a character making choices by themselves. And I felt like there was a little bit less of that, and it was more like, okay, how can we wrap up some of these other plot lines regarding Batson and have him end up to where we need to be. And I want to say, even though this was a movie that had a ton of CGI, I have to tell you guys, some of the CGI was really bad and didn't do it for me.
I'm so sorry.
Some of the special effects were really great, but there were other times where the CGI took me out of the film. But that's enough about the things that I didn't like about the movie. Let's get to the things that I actually did like about the movie.
Okay.
Now, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that I actually did a everything right and everything wrong about the Shazam trailer building up to this film, and you can check that out probably in a title card up here or something. But already I was on board, and I have to say, Zachary Levi did a fantastic job. And I will say Asher, to me, was probably the best performance in this movie. I just thought the kid just did such a great job. He was so engaging. I love seeing him on screen. I love seeing his interaction, and I really look forward to seeing how the character of Billy Batson grows with this kid's talent behind it. And Jack Dylan Grazer did a really great job playing Freddy in this movie as well. And I thought his chemistry, not only with Zachary Levi, but also with Ashton Asher, was really great. I think overall that was a really great thing about this movie, was that all of the character interactions were done really well, and they were all really strong. I also want to say that the overall arc to Batson, seeing where he started at the beginning and where he is at the end, was very satisfying to see. Now, was that done particularly in a great way? Did it always feel organic? No, not necessarily, but was I satisfied with the end of it? Yeah, I actually was.
You literally did the opposite of what a superhero is supposed to do.
I want to say that this movie was filled with so many great moments, and there's actually a really great moment in the third act that when you're watching it, it might feel a little bit of fan service, but honestly, with the way that they built it up, it felt so organic, and it just brought a smile to my face, and you'll know that scene when you go see the movie. And I also want to mention that there's a lot of fan service in this movie, but it's actually done really well. So some fan service, when it's done, it's just like pushed right in your face, and it just feels like it's just inconvenient or that it's focused too much. But in this case, they did a really great job. So for example, the school that they go to is called Fawcett Central, which is a great nod to the Fawcett comics that originally published Captain Marvel, known as Shazam. Or there's a scene where Shazam is actually on a toy piano that was an homage to Big, which is kind of what this movie is like. It's Big but with superheroes. This movie had a lot of fun. It was full of heart. It was full of really emotions. I really did feel like I was emotionally invested and that I was really engaged in this movie. And to build on that point, this movie felt true to what it was. It knew what it was. It knew what it wanted to get across. And we're talking not just the script, but we're talking tone. We're talking character interactions, we're talking character arcs, everything. And I felt like it really nailed a lot of those points really, really well.
You're welcome for not getting robbed.
You know, this movie had so many different elements going with it, and it all seemed to work out really well. So we had a movie that was partially coming of age movie. This also felt like a kind of a Goonies kids sort of adventure. You had the superhero element to it. You had the family drama element to it. So there were just a lot of things in this movie that it really combined, and I felt like it all worked for me. And also what stood out to me in this movie, more so than the other DCEU films, is that you knew that this was a character in the larger world. But just because it was in this larger world, that did not dictate where the story went. It did not dictate where this character went. And when you're able to do that, that's success. And I think what this movie helps showcase is that if the character of Shazam is in the same world as Batman and they can coexist but have these radically different tones, you're going to have a universe that's actually stronger in the end because you're not boxing creators in. And thanks for watching, and if you have any thoughts on this movie, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, be sure to leave a comment below, and be sure to subscribe to this channel for more movie reviews and reactions and all sorts of things that are about the positivity of film in our world. And I'll see you in a couple of days when I post a new video.